A man landed at Heathrow with £500 in his pocket. He spent 7 days in London. When he left, he had spent every last pound, not on tourist traps, not on fancy hotels, on the people, the streets, the food, and the moments that nobody ever puts in a guidebook. This is not a travel guide. This is London as it actually is, not the postcard version, the real one. Let's go. First stop, Brick Lane, East London. Most people start at Buckingham Palace. That is the most common mistake a first-time visitor makes. Start here instead. Brick Lane on a Sunday morning is the most alive street in all of London. Every 10 steps, you are in a different world. Bangladeshi curry houses that have been open since 1970. Vintage stalls where someone is selling a 1940s RAF jacket next to a rack of 1980s denim. Graffiti murals so large they cover entire buildings, changing every few months because this street does not believe in staying the same. A man playing jazz saxophone at the corner who has been playing that same corner for 20 years. He does not have a tip jar. He is just playing. Order a bagel from the 2-4-hour bakery here. It costs almost nothing. They have been making it the same way since 1855. Bite into it, and you understand something about London that takes a long time to put into words. This city is layer after layer after layer. Nothing is quite replaced. Everything is just added on top of everything else. The old and the new standing right next to each other without apology. Walk down this street slowly. Do not rush it. At some point, a stranger will stop and ask where you are from. When you tell them, they will immediately tell you where to eat, which gallery is free today, which neighborhood you absolutely must not miss before you leave. Not because it is their job, not because they want anything from you, because Londoners are secretly and deeply proud of their city, and they want you to see it properly. That is the thing about London that nobody tells you before you go. It presents itself as cold and distant, but the moment you show genuine curiosity, the city opens up completely. Second stop, Borough Market, London Bridge. If Brick Lane feeds your curiosity, Borough Market feeds everything else. This market has existed in some form since the year 1014. You are walking across 1,000 years of commerce just by stepping through the gates. Cheese from Somerset aged in caves. Bread baked at 4 in the morning and still warm when you arrive. Scotch eggs, Ethiopian Berbere spice in small paper bags. Korean dumplings steaming in bamboo baskets. Jamaican jerk chicken on the bone with Scotch bonnet sauce. Argentinian empanadas, Japanese matcha cakes. All of it under one iron and glass roof that has watched the city change for centuries around it. Here's what happens if you linger long enough at any single stall. They offer you a sample, then another one, then they start talking. The man selling raw honey will explain exactly which flowers his bees visited to make each jar. The woman behind the olive stand spent 12 years working on a farm in Greece before bringing her family recipe back to London and setting up here. These are not sales pitches. These are entire lives compressed into a 2-minute conversation over a small piece of cheese. By the time you leave Borough Market, you have eaten enough to call it lunch, learned 3 recipes you will never actually cook, heard 4 languages, and spent almost nothing. London feeds you if you let it. Walk down to the Thames after. Stand on the bridge. The Shard rises on one side. Tower Bridge is a 5-minute walk. The river moves the way it has always moved, slow and gray, and carrying everything with it. A boat passes. Seagulls follow it. The city keeps going in every direction around you, and for one moment, you feel the full weight of how old and how complicated this place is. Third stop, the British Museum, Bloomsbury. Entry is free. That is the first thing you need to know. The second thing is that this building is a problem, not because it is bad, because you will walk in planning to stay 1 hour and you will come out 4 hours later, blinking in the afternoon light, genuinely confused about where the time went. The Rosetta Stone is here, the object that unlocked ancient Egyptian writing. Not a replica, not a copy, the actual stone. You can stand 2 feet away from it. The Elgin marbles from the Parthenon. Ancient Egyptian mummies still wrapped, still intact. A Roman sandal made of leather 2,000 years ago, preserved so well you can see the individual stitches. A chess set carved from walrus ivory in the year 1150 AD. The pieces still sharp, the faces of the bishops still visible. These are not things behind glass in photographs. These are the actual objects. Real things that real human beings made with their hands, used in their daily lives, buried with their dead, prayed over, fought over, carried across oceans. And now they are here and you can walk right up to them. Sit in the great court at the center of the museum, that enormous glass-roofed atrium designed by Norman Foster, where the old circular reading room sits like a quiet secret at the middle of everything. Just sit there and watch the world walk past you. School children from Tokyo on a field trip, arguing about which exhibit is the most boring. A grandmother from Nigeria in full traditional dress, moving slowly through the Greek gallery with her hands behind her back, taking everything in. A backpacker from Argentina who arrived in London 3 days ago and still looks slightly overwhelmed by the whole thing. An elderly man sitting on a bench with a notebook, drawing something nobody else is looking at. Every kind of human being on Earth passes through this space, and every single one of them is standing in front of the same objects for the first time, feeling some version of the same bewilderment. That shared experience, that collective first time, is one of the most quietly extraordinary things London offers completely for free. Fourth, stop Notting Hill and Portobello Road. Come on a Saturday morning. That is not a suggestion. Portobello Road on a Saturday becomes something that does not look entirely real. Antique dealers who have had their stalls here since 1948, their whole tables covered in silver picture frames and Victorian pocket watches and old maps of countries that no longer exist. A man with a velvet-lined case of vintage watches who will spend 20 minutes explaining the mechanism of each one whether you are buying or not. A woman selling hand-painted ceramic plates who learned the craft from her grandmother in Portugal and moved to London 40 years ago and has been here every Saturday since. Jazz comes from a basement window, somewhere you cannot quite locate. The smell of fresh coffee mixes with the smell of old books from the stall on the corner. Everyone moves at half speed here, because the street does not allow you to rush. The houses are the thing that stops people mid-step. Pastel pink, powder blue, dusty white, canary yellow, mint green, burnt orange. Every terrace a different color, every color deliberate. Somebody made those decisions once. Now those houses exist in 10 million photographs, on 10 million postcards, in the background of 10 million selfies taken by people who came from every country on Earth to stand in front of them. Walk up past the houses to the top of the hill. On a clear day, you can see the city spread below you. Not the postcard skyline of the Thames and the bridges, the actual London. Uneven rooftops in every direction. Church spires from 4 different centuries. Construction cranes beside buildings that are older than most countries. A city that has been rebuilt after fire, bombed and rebuilt again after war, expanded outward and inward and upward, contracted and stretched, argued over and loved and complained about and never quite finished. Still going. If you stand there long enough, a local will appear beside you. Ask them about the Notting Hill Carnival, how it started in 1966 as a direct response to racial tension in the streets below. How West Indian communities decided to celebrate themselves openly and loudly in a neighborhood that had not always welcomed them. How it became the second largest street festival in the world. How, for one August weekend every single year, the whole neighborhood transforms into a different country entirely. 2 million people in the streets, steel drums and sound systems and food from 30 islands all at once. They will tell you all of this if you ask. They always do. Fifth stop, Peckham, South London. Most tourists do not come here. That is exactly why you should. Peckham is what London actually looks like when it is not performing for anyone, when it is just being itself on a Tuesday afternoon. Nigerian and Ghanaian restaurants, side by side with Turkish barbershops and Vietnamese grocery stores and Portuguese chicken shops and Caribbean bakeries, every cuisine existing in its own right, not curated for visitors, just feeding the people who live here the food they actually want to eat. Go to Rye Lane on a weekday. The market stalls are out. Fish and plantain and mangoes and yams. A woman selling hair extensions from a folding table. A man repairing shoes from a chair on the pavement. Children in school uniform moving in groups. Life happening without any performance or self-consciousness. Then go up. There is a rooftop bar on top of a multi-story car park. It changes names and formats every few years, but it has existed in different versions for over a decade. You go up, and suddenly you are looking at the entire London skyline from a direction most people never see it from. Canary Wharf to the east. The Shard cutting upward to the north. Crystal Palace Transmission Tower on the horizon. The Dome of St. Paul's just visible if the sky is clear. The whole city laid out flat and enormous and real. Young artists sit here. Musicians and architects and teachers and chefs and people who moved to London from everywhere and stayed because this is where they found their people. They are not talking about London as a destination. They are talking about their lives in it. Their landlord, their commute, their project, their friend who just got a record deal, their plan to leave, and their inability to actually leave because London has a way of keeping people who were only supposed to stay for a year. This is where London lives when it is off-duty. This is the London that built itself, that does not particularly need to be visited, that is simply here and has been for a long time. The people in Peckham are not background characters in anyone else's travel story. They are the city. That is London. 5 neighborhoods, 5 completely different worlds sharing the same postcodes. Hundreds of free museums. Thousands of strangers with accents from everywhere on earth who became part of your story for 5 minutes at a market stall or a bar or a street corner and then disappeared back into the city. A wallet that went from £500 to nothing. Not because London is cheap. It is not cheap. But because the city is so full of things worth spending on, and even fuller of things offered freely to anyone curious enough to look for them. The world has built a picture of London as cold and gray and expensive and difficult. Go. Walk every street that made you feel something. Eat in the places nobody photographed. Talk to the people who have been there longer than you can imagine. Drop a comment and tell me which stop from this video you are going to first.